In the recent Torah portion, Korach, we have a phrase or a question that is thrown at Moshe, Mike, that says from Dathan and Aviram, I think it is.
If you say so.
I'm sorry?
If you say so.
If I say so. Verse 14 says, "You've not brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Would you bore out the eyes of these men? We're not coming up." Kind of get the idea that they were saying promises, promises. We were supposed to have received blessing and grandeur and ease and good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We are stuck in the wilderness. You're going to blind us as well, Moshe. A lot of us left previous places, wherever those places might have been, thinking that we were headed to the promised land of Torah observance and freedom. And the freedom and the benefit, the fruit of it all hasn't really shown up yet, Mike. So does the Torah really offer liberty and freedom, or we've just changed the chains of one institution for the observance of another?
Well, you bring up a whole lot there, Mr. Phillips. Good morning.
Good morning.
And of course, for everyone out there, we are getting ready for Revive, which will be this coming weekend.
That's true.
Barry and I are recording a day early so that he and Laura won't have to drive that whole way in one day. But so if I put out this request on Living Torah a little while ago, as that will be released. Those of you that will not be there, if you could commit to prayer for us from 3:30 to 5:30 Central Time on Friday, Shabbat, and Sunday, we would sure appreciate it. There's already been some prophetic words spoken over this weekend, and we're looking forward to the time that we have together with people at Revive. So, Barry, this thing of you didn't bring us in, you brought us out here. I get this picture of Charlie Brown. You remember the Charlie Brown thing with the teacher? Wah, 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 wah. I kind of have a feeling that's what it sounds like in the spiritual realm, which if, it's here, this theme goes along with them week after week after week in the Torah portions, and will actually cause Moshe to do some pretty amazing, make a pretty bad mistake and not go into the promised land. They will bring forth that same diatribe of words in this week's Torah portion. But here's the problem. What they were saying in a way was right. You have us in. It's been 38 years out here. You've given us, as I kind of quoted these words when it talks about they were complaining about the manna. You've given us can't remember how I quoted it, but we have a contemptible dread of this horrible bread. If that's the way we're talking about angel food, we got a problem to begin with. But I got where they're going. Sometimes we came out of systems with the rose-colored glasses, and we're expecting that which is to be in the kingdom to be now. So it goes back to unrealistic expectations. The kingdom will be the kingdom. And when we believe that exile is going to be like the kingdom, we're setting ourselves up for a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the problem is they need to get their expectations in a different place and become more excited about their future than their present. You got to deal with the problem with getting to the future is dealing with the present. Sometimes it's like you and Laura are going to be traveling, and I know you guys have got some planned stops along the way. Unfortunately, you will not be going through the area of Seaverville. Well, actually, it's a blessing that you will not be traveling through Seaverville, Tennessee, which is the home, as of yesterday, the new home of the world's largest Buc-ee's. I thought that was kind of funny because Buc-ee's only is in the United States. So if you had a Buc-ee's that was the size of a 7-Eleven, it would also be the world's largest Buc-ee's. So somewhere they're advertising, and you don't need to go there anyway because it's way too expensive. I digress into Buc-ee's. If our, you guys, you're going to be making some stops along the way, and you have great expectations for those stops.
Yeah.
Getting from stop to stop, isn't that exciting? It just kind of sometimes it just kind of sucks dirt or exhaust fumes or something else. It's the process of getting from one place to another is sometimes not really all it's made up to be.
I remember the days of the previous locations and attending such locations on occasion over the last 20-some years. It still holds true, and that is a fervent call to what would I say? It's almost like a cheerleader rally of how great this gathering is and how blessed we are to be a part of this particular congregation. We have the best this, that, and the other, and the Lord is here. He's here to bless you today, that type of thing. And it's kind of a rah, rah, rah thing going on to encourage folks to enjoy the moment for being there. In that regard, Mike, we are living in a event-oriented institution or event-oriented congregation. And if we're not careful, we will treat Shabbat the same way. Instead of building community, we will be focusing on the event. You mentioned Revive. I'm looking forward to being at Revive. This is Laura's first time to be there. I wanted Laura to physically see that the Roots community is bigger than Gloucester, bigger than the few congregations that we have traveled to. See a different way of doing things, a different presentation, hear some different voices, meet some different people, expand
some really
expand her awareness of things. And I'm looking forward to being there just to be with people.
Yeah.
And it's a great community event. What's important, though, is that there is continued communication and community building after the event is over, which means there has to be community life demonstrated by some means during the week, during the spread of the months and the year. We look forward to the highlight reel, Shabbats and feast days and special conferences. But the day-to-day routine also means that there needs to be some sense of involvement. Laura's much better at that than I am. She's the one who says, you need to call them. This one is having this issue. You need to call them. And I'm thinking, why do I need it? They need to hear from you. So Laura's the one that is really got that hand on, or that touch on the pulse of that. That's important, because if we only go from the event of Shabbat to the next Shabbat or the special service, those things can become routine, and we will fail to see the life that is in them, and we will feel the shackles and the handcuffs come back on us. We left places thinking, I'm headed to the promised land of fruitfulness and full liberty. But if our expectations, as you said, is the same as what they were previously, we're missing something.
Yeah.
Another thought here before I jump off and let you go. If we're not finding Yeshua in what we're doing, then the Torah is no different than any other religion. Yeshua said that he came to set men free. The freedom of the Torah, the liberty of the Torah, is not departing from somewhere else to come somewhere else or to change views and perspectives. The freedom is finding the authentic Messiah in the Torah, and he's setting you free.
And the more the Messiah is the focus of it all. I mean, I remember you stayed in one denomination your whole life. I didn't. Growing up Baptist in Southern Baptist Church, there was a set of we could call these. There was a set of chains that it was like a dog on a leash. You were only allowed to go so far, and then your chain pulled you back. So we went to the Nazarene church, and when I started to watch these Pentecostal preachers online, went back to the leadership of that church, of my Nazarene church, a wonderful group of people. Okay, I'm not saying anything against them, but I came to the end of my chain that they had put around my neck, and it's like, no, you're not going any. No. You can't go play in that yard. And the same thing happened with the Assembly of God, and the same thing happened when I was in a vineyard, and the same thing happens over and over again. But here's the thing, Barry. People that go from some people are happiest with the chain. Now, the Torah is about boundaries, which is a fence.
Mm-hmm.
There is a fence, which is the dietary laws, the festivals, all these are all boundaries. These are all fences, and fences are good. But with that being said, if you have a dog that's in a backyard that is fenced, but then that fence goes around a 1 acre plot of land, and you put them on a 6-foot chain. There's so much of the yard that they could have access to, but you've chained them into this one little spot.
Yeah.
The problem lies in when you start to enjoy the chain, when the chain becomes your identity. This is my little plot here, and you can go from one set of rules to another set of rules, but where is Messiah in that set of rules? Where is the joy in that set of rules? We can talk about Shabbat, we can talk about the festivals, we can talk about all these things. If you're coming up on the festivals and they're full of stress, if you're coming up on Shabbat and it's full of stress, if you're looking at the commandments and it's adding stress, that's called a chain. That's not Messiah. So the keeping of the commandments should be the joy of playing in the whole 1 acre, not just being limited to your 6-foot chain. You see, a chain is something somebody else puts on you.
Wow. Great analogy.
No.
You did good.
Thank you.
The word is not a chain.
Yeah.
Yeshua doesn't carry chains to put on us.
No.
We get the idea at times, or it has been put upon us the idea at times, that this boundary that we are called to live within is only about this big. and it
Mm-hmm.
has very high walls. In other words, it's a prison cell. You
Yeah.
have enough room to get in there and you can actually physically live, but there's no liberty. You can't go and do as you would like. Uh, the boundaries of the Torah are immense. There is all the room desired to live, to move in Him, to find liberty, to have joy, to embrace life and live it to a full. It is on the other side of that boundary that we find that's the realm of darkness. There
Mm-hmm.
is no joy there. There is no life there. There is no there's no hope there. And those that are living in darkness are like children whose parents believe, well, I just don't want to hinder their development.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell them no. And those children will spend their lives pushing to see where the boundary is, because every child wants to know what is permitted, what is not. What are my boundaries? If they're not given boundaries, they will spend their life looking for them. Unfortunately, they will find them in a prison cell somewhere, or in an addiction somewhere, or in a horrible circumstance. I remember my coming out of denominationalism.
Mm-hmm.
And that overwhelming sensation about 5 minutes on the other side of those denominational boundaries, thinking to myself, okay, what is my safety net?
Yeah.
What is my supporting structure? Who are my peers now? And when I walked away, when I came out of the state office, having just resigned my ordination and ministerial credentials and the pastorate of my church, the only person that I really knew was Mike Clayton and 2 or 3 other people.
You in trouble.
And I thought to myself, what have I done?
Mm-hmm.
Can I handle this? And I remember reaching my hand, put it in on the handle of the door of my automobile in the parking lot, realizing what I had just done. And I prayed this prayer. I said, Father, I don't have anybody but you. You're all I got. As I sat in the automobile, I sighed and prayed, but I have to believe you're all that I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has proven to be foundational for the last 21, 22 years now. What has also developed is relationships, friendships, partnerships, a community, and so forth. Yah is faithful.
Mm-hmm.
The chain is a security system. The chain of restricting religious ideas and requirements. It kind of enforces, okay, this is okay, that's not okay. I'm glad someone else decided that for me, and now I don't have to worry about it. All I have to do is obey the rules, and I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not freedom. That's not liberty. The Torah tells us what Yah says, this you shall do, this you shall not do. We can look at that as rules, or we can say, these are my boundaries. Live within the boundaries. I also remember the freedom of realizing church dogma and denominational practical teachings, doctrinal requirements, as we called them. We don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do the other. And you dare not break one of those rules, or you will call it a rebel. Or, if you were like me, you were trying to find a place to preach. Well, if you wore a finger ring in those days, if you wore your class ring or something other than your wedding band, you might not get invited to preach somewhere. And so you restricted yourself because, following the rules made opportunities within those who kept the rules. I, re- I remember realizing, like, the word tells me what I need to do and don't do.
So let's go back to the analogy. Okay, let's say, and what's the purpose of a fence? Okay, there's two ways of looking at the fence. As number one, the fence is there to keep you within the boundaries of something. Okay, that's good, because if there's a cliff, there was pretty recently there was a person that we see these selfies that are being taken. People standing out on a rock. This happened up in the Arbel Cliff in Israel, where they don't put many guardrails up there. What's that fence for? Is to keep you from danger. So if there's a cliff there, and the Almighty understands there's a cliff, so He puts up a fence in front of that cliff so that you don't go over the cliff. So we can see that cliff is there or that fence is there to set our boundaries. That fence is there for our protection. It's also to keep the bad things out. If there's there's wolves or coyotes or something in the area, and you let your dog out in the backyard, you put that fence up to keep the coyotes from luring that dog away, which happened to a friend of mine not too long ago, and killed the dog. So the fences of the Torah are there for our protection, for our guidance, to give us boundaries of life. But here's what happens: is let's go back to the dog. I'm going to run with this one. Let's go back to the dog. It's got a 1 acre plot of land, and it has free reign of that within the boundaries of the fence. If it stays within those boundaries, nothing's going to come inside that fence and hurt it. Good. So it can play anywhere. But then, and I'm going to go to Rabbinic Judaism, and I'm not speaking in any way anti-Semitic. There are many of the rabbinic guidelines that I believe are good, but at the same time, it is putting a fence within a fence. And this is rabbinic teaching, that some of the rabbinic things are a fence within the fence. Well, that's fine, as long as you can show me the purpose of that fence. But what happens is that generation after generation after generation, and though I'm speaking of some of rabbinic Judaism, I'm also speaking of denominational Christianity and any other system that you want to be a part of, is that whenever you put up a fence, and then someone puts a fence within the fence, it's kind of like politicians. They think that in order for them to be relevant in their generation, they need to come up with another law. Let's pass another bill. No, there's sometimes that you just need to sit down, sit back, shut up, and let people enjoy what's there. We don't need you. We don't need your nose in this thing. We don't need another bill telling us whatever. Okay, so if you end up that every generation thinks in order for them to be relevant, that instead of just enjoying the boundaries, well, I need to add something to the boundaries. And in the end, your 1 acre plot of land becomes a dog run.
Mm. So I want to tag on something other you said about Congress and so forth. No, I'm not waxing political here. It's not any different than those that are in a bureaucratic setting. There is a need to justify your existence on your job.
Yes.
I have to do something that lets those above me know I'm worth having around. I'm necessary. If I'm here only maintaining what has already been established, then I've got nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens in corporate structures, political structures, people invent a need and then strive to find a way to meet the invented need to justify their role in their existence.
Because the outer fence may have a brand name on it, which is called Yud He Vav He. You go to Lowe's, or you go to somewhere, and you get a fence. You put up a fence around your yard. It's probably going to have a little metal sign that is the brand name of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
So the fence of our fictitious 1 acre plot has a sign that says Yud He Vav He. But when I come along and want to build another fence inside the fence, I'll put my name on it. So what I've done is I've taken away or detracted from his name so that I could have something with my name.
So if someone finds a taught restriction, you're listening to a teacher somewhere and they come up with this interpretation of scripture, this angle of doctrine, and they're suggesting that this needs to be observance. This is the way we have to do things, because if we don't, we're just doing what we used to do somewhere else. And we're still, we don't, you just don't know what I know. Whose name is on that fence? Is Yah's name on that fence, or is it the individual's? Following your train of thought, I almost lost my train of thought. Justifying our role. There is a tendency, and I've seen it done over and again, where speaking on and teaching on the boundaries that Yah has already established, at times it is perceived as boring. I've already heard that. What else you got? Whereas if, as you're describing, you can come up with a unique angle on a new boundary, you can draw and elicit a sense of excitement. And look at that, I never saw that before mindset. And it becomes so engaging to our minds that we feel like, I do need to put that into practice. We talked about this last week in regard to restrictions, especially on women, how that things have been taught over the years that you must do this and you must do that. Mike, I remember the denominational days where women were afraid to cut their hair. Women's long hair, I remember them talking about, well, it's gotten split ends on it. My hair's not healthy at the end of the strand of hair. But they were afraid to trim the split ends off to help the health of their hair. But the way they piled it up on their head, because they didn't have anything else to do with it, it was a problem. No one could see it anyway if you trimmed that much off of the bottom of your hair. Mm-hmm. They couldn't wear any makeup. They weren't supposed to wear any jewelry. They were super restricted in what they were wearing as far as their clothing choices. And, you shouldn't wear this color because, well, it's just, it just elicits too much of a different mindset. And I'm thinking, if a man can't look at a woman's elbow without having problems in his mind, the problem's not the woman's elbow. The problem's in the man's mind.
Yeah.
Something's wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
And, yes, all of that moderated over a period of time. And then it shifted, quite a bit in the mid 80s, thankfully. But I remember the mindset of it. I don't want that mindset of it anymore.
Mhm.
We need to find the joy, the life, the hope, the expectation, and the fruitfulness of walking in the Torah's commands and not using these as sticks to either build a fence with or beat people over the head with, neither which produces or elicits any
So,
fruit.
let's take my analogy a little bit different direction here. Is the focus on the fence or the playground? If you look back, there was something done years ago of a group of children that were in a playground that had no fence around it, and they all hung out right. They huddled in the center. As soon as the fence was there, they went all over. Because why? Because as humans, we desire that boundary. Though it's probable that none of those children ever stood there and go, "Wow, did you see? Isn't that a beautiful fence? I mean, look at the intricate nature of the." You don't focus on the fence. You focus on what is inside the fence. So if we focus on the fence, we're going to lose the joy of what's inside. So he's given us this wonderful playground as a child on a playground. He's given this wonderful playground, and there's various things there. And some of those things are for different aspects of our maturity. Okay, you don't take an 18-month-old and put them on the swing that doesn't have the harness thing in it. You know, there's the little kids side. This guy, the one that's got more like the chair thing, and you can take the child that's 18 months old, 2 years old, and you can swing them a little bit back and forth. If you put them on the one that's for older children, they're going to hurt themselves. You don't take the older children and put them on the little kids because they're to mature. But as they grow, they begin to enjoy other things. There's a time that they're going to look at the slide and go, that's high, that's tall, and I'm scared. But then as they mature, it's like, you ever seen a kid? You've got grandkids that have gone down slides. I mean, the first time they go down the slide, it's like, come on, you can do this. No, I'm scared. You can do this. And then you're standing there after they go the first time, and it's like the 500th time. And you're like, I'm tired of the slide. No, one more. You know, what we should be doing as teachers is not always focusing on the intricacies of the fence, but on the joys of the playground that the fence secures us in.
Mm-hmm. So, as teachers of Torah, are we focusing on the negatives? This is what you shall not do. Or are we focusing on the positives? This is what you are to do and what you may do. Even in those things that are negative, if we say, you know, the Torah says that we should not do a certain thing, the joy is found even in that. And this is what it's preventing for us. This is what it's keeping us from encountering. So even in the negative commands, if you want to use that way of expression, there is joy to be found in the positive end result.
Well, you look at it as Shabbat, okay? There's no commandment to light the candles 18 minutes before Shabbat, though I understand the concept of running toward it. In fact, there's no commandments in the Torah to light candles. So is it wrong? Absolutely not. When I say the blessing, I say I don't say who commands us to light the candles, because it's not a commandment in the Torah. I know it's in the oral, but you know, I have issues with that, and I have respect for those that follow some of those things. That's fine. I'm not anti of any of this stuff. But the fact is, there's no commandment that tells us to light 2 candles. I know people that light 3. I know I have a good friend who lights 7. They light the menorah every Shabbat. Okay, who's right?
Yes.
Well, we can sit here and argue the fact over the number of candles, or we can rejoice in the revelation of the candles.
So whatever we do in the methodologies, mechanics of observance, let it be for enhancing the revelation of the observance.
Know why you're doing it. When you put your mezuzah on the door, know why you're doing it. When you put your prayer shawl on or your tzitzit on your belt loops, know why you're doing it. When you sound the shofar to open the service, know why you're doing it. When you say the Shema, know why you're doing it. Be able to give an account of the things that you're doing with joy and not just duty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Same thing can be said why you're praying.
Yeah.
Why do you get up and pray on a daily basis? Why am I studying the word? Is it to keep out of trouble with the Most High? Well, if I don't, he's going to be mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Your relationship is not based upon ritual observances per se. They enhance, they encourage, they enliven your relationship. But foundationally, first and foremost, you have a relationship with Yeshua the Messiah. You are on a, Mike, we in the Messiah, we are on a first name basis. If I were to walk into, any judge's chambers or person in Congress or whatever, I'm not on a first name basis with those people. I would use your honor as a means of addressing someone.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, ma'am, when it comes to Yeshua, though he is our king, though he is our redeemer, we call him by his first name, and he knows our name.
Mm-hmm.
He addresses us by our first name. We have relationship with him. That now understood, it's not to say that it's casual and without boundaries and without a sense of honor. All those things must be understood. Same time, though, we have a relationship. He knows us, and he is inviting us to know him. That's where your liberty is. There is your freedom. The security the security perceived by a chain is a false sense of security. The Torah's boundaries aren't enough.
That first name basis, let me go to that real quickly, then just a closing statement from me. When I was in the Army, I had a first sergeant that was my facility chief. Actually, it was E7, and had a great relationship with him. Off the record, when I was at his house, I called him Robbie. But in front of others, it was always by his title. So though we have an intimate relationship and we're on a first name basis, let's not forget the respect that we are to show to him. My last thing, in what I just said regarding rabbinic teachings, observances, I respect highly, though at times I disagree. But I will defend my brother's or my sister's right to those observances because of their conviction. Will I discuss the reasons for? Yes. And there are times that in that discussion, I may find that I might need to lean more toward that. So if anyone was thinking, well, he's making some statements against, no, I wasn't making statements against, but I do question, as I've questioned Christian doctrines, I've questioned Messianic doctrines, and I will question whatever I do, because I want to be playing in the whole acre, not just be put in a dog run.
And again, in regard to that which is rabbinical in nature, before you speak in any way negative or saying, I disagree, understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Investigate, okay, what is it that they're seeking to accomplish? It could be a cultural expression. It could be a taught observance. What is the lesson that they're trying to learn from it? Again, you may disagree, you may agree and use it yourself. But the word is sufficient for all of us to find out how it is that he wants us to live.
Yeah.
Do it that way. Again, if you're at
Yeah.
Revive, and we'd love to meet with you, say hello. If you watch Foundations for Life, join to Hashem, Mike's Torah teachings, Life on Purpose, 10-minute Torah. All of these things are available for you to help you to grow and to develop your walk in Messiah. If these are a blessing to you, it's encouraging us to hear you say so.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have the opportunity to meet you face to face. So, Mike, I look forward to seeing you in just a few days.
Bezrat Hashem, God willing.
And folks, we'll see you again next week. So until then, shalom.